Hello everyone, I am back. And to show you where I am, let's see, this is the original spoiler. It is a C2 Grand Sport replica spoiler. Got it in nice shape, put primer on it, and used two different colors of primer. Even though they were the same brand, I wanted the two different coats. Kind of use it as a guide coat. Coming to find out, that was a bad idea. The reason why it's a bad idea is you can see that in some cases the primer separated between the two different colors. The gray was painted on first, the black was painted on next, and then when I pulled the mold off, for some reason it separated in between the primer layers. They were sprayed right after another. Followed the directions on the can just like you're supposed to. Now, it got even worse. So what happened was then I coated the entire thing with PVA, polyvinyl alcohol, which is water soluble, and it should have come loose when I put water on it. Well, I made a slim opening along the edge here and then put water in there. In fact, it was soapy water out of this. And then I put wedges in there, and then as it released, I kept putting more and more wedges in there. And of course, I was thinking that as it released, it was softening up the PVA that was on this orange surface. The orange is the gel coat. So to get a little further, once I put the PVA over the primer, then I put gel coat over the PVA. Then I put fiberglass on the gel coat. And then if you've been following up, I reinforced everything with some scraps that I had from a bad mold. So this is a very heavy, very solid mold now. Okay, so on to what I was saying. So what should have happened is that the water that I put on there should have softened the PVA, and this primer should have come off. It should have separated at the PVA layer. But for some reason it's separated in between the primer layers. No earthly idea why that happened. Now, I did not wax the surface before I put the PVA on because I've had issues with surface issues when I put wax on. It works, but you have to mist on the PVA, otherwise it separates into little beads. It beads up, there we go, which makes sense. When you polish your car with wax, it beads up any water. Since PVA is water-based, it beads up. So it takes a lot of really light mist coats to get PVA to finally get smooth. In this case, I was able to spray the PVA on and it immediately went smooth because it didn't have those issues. I've done it this way in the past. It's worked perfectly. Really weird. I'll find an approach that works and use it and it works perfectly, and the next time I try it, it doesn't work. This is one of those cases. Okay, so used some water, sprayed it, and sure enough, some of the primer came off and left the PVA. Left the gel coat. In other cases, it didn't. So what I did was, because I had it sitting around, I put some diesel fuel on here, and sure enough, it softened up the primer. Primer's only been on there for a couple of days, so it softened it up. And then I was able to scrape it with, or actually not scrape it, but brush it off. But then it made this horrible black mess. It all turned gooey on me. So I decided what I would rather do is use my power washer and then try to power wash off this primer at the PVA layer. And I tried it with the scraper. I got a plastic scraper, and I just used the hose with the nozzle on there. And it started working, but it wasn't enough pressure. But the areas that you see here were strictly from using the water hose, and it just peeled up. So where the PVA, where it can get to the PVA, it does like it's supposed to. It softens up the PVA and the primer comes off. Shouldn't have happened in the first place, Still haven't figured out what's the best way to do this stuff, because every time I try it, like I said, I've tried PVA by itself. I've tried wax with no PVA, which is how this last mold got screwed up. It was wax with no PVA, and the paint and the gel coat attacked each other. It was really weird. So when I disassembled it, it was a mess. So I've tried wax, I've tried mold release. The best thing that's worked so far, believe it or not, is I put PVA on the part, and then I put wax over the PVA. And in those cases, it just falls off. But I thought I shouldn't have to do that. I should just be able to use PVA. Well, what you should be able to do and what you can do is often different. Anyway, just wanted to show you where I'm at. I don't have any gas for my power washer, so I'm just going to wait until tomorrow, get some gas on the way into the shop, and hopefully the power washer will just knock all of that primer off. The other thing that is, of course, weird is that where it separated just doesn't make any sense. In some cases, there's this black primer that's, it looks like a flat black finish, and then other places there's the primer that is the gray primer that I first used. Don't know why it did that. So anyway, at some point I've got to get that surface smooth, but that's not a critical piece right now. What we want to do is we want to try to make carbon fiber spoilers, and so we needed the mold to do that for the future. All right, that's all I've got. Like, subscribe, hit the alert, hit the thanks if you want to donate, and if you don't like what we're doing, you don't know jack. Bye.